has changed. America has changed. If something were to happen tomorrow, how self-sufficient would you be? Could you grow your own food? Could you sustain your own livestock? Could you survive? This is the We Grow Our Show with Nick and Don. Nick and Don talk about everything from politics to planting. They cover techniques, methods, and tips on how to not only survive, but thrive. Visit the website at WeGrowOurs.com. Lock and load. This is the We Grow Our Show. Get your grow on.
Welcome back to the We Grow Our Show, empowering your independence.
Okay, that's better. I thought you were going to say that other thing you've been saying. No, it's all truth, damn it.
And what's funny is I was saying that, and like it was reminding me of something, and then just yesterday we were watching a ton of old Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
And that's what Drew.
A funny show.
It is. Oh my gosh! And Drew Carey comes on every time and says the show where the points don't matter and something or other, and it's that same thing. And somehow it got ingrained in my head.
Okay,
I'm a creature of habit.
No, you're a simple man.
Simple Jack.
That's right. So we have got a very informative show today with the doctor.
That's right, Dr. Duct Tape. No, just kidding.
I like that.
I'd go by that. That's
there
cool.
You go. Yeah. Now, Dr. James Hubbard from the Survival Doctor, website is thesurvivaldoctor.com. He's got a new book coming out called Duct Tape 911. And it's pretty cool. It goes through a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to talk to him about tips to use with duct tape and surviving.
Yeah. So, funny story about duct tape. So, as you know, I come from a long line of cattlemen, and
you're a redneck, you mean?
Yeah, that too. Okay. So we've got this steer that as a calf, he had this herniated, umbiligo. What is that in English? Umbiligo is, belly button. That's the one.
All right.
Sorry. Anyway, so he's got this herniated belly button, and, it's poking out way farther than what it should. And my dad, we had the farm for maybe a year or two, so this was like his first set of calves from his herd, and
right.
And he's just like, I don't want to put down a calf. I don't want to. Well, let's just see what happens. So we stuffed the hernia back up and in, and wrapped the SOB with duct tape.
Did it work?
Yes, it did.
Did it?
He was one of the biggest steers out of his lot.
No other issues.
No, well, and he was real friendly too, because he was used to being manhandled, and we bring him into the chute, and every month or so we'd have to change the duct tape out because he'd grow.
Yeah.
And so he had like this band on him where
with a duct tape
where you could you could see where he grew a little bit, but I mean he got older, and I think we put a piece of plastic over top of the hernia itself, so if he ever kicked at it, it wouldn't gouge him. But
right.
That stupid thing grew up to be a big old steer and then ended up being delicious.
That's pretty cool.
Mission accomplished.
So, yeah, Dr. Hubbard should put that in his next duct tape book.
Yeah, in case you have a hernia coming out of your belly button, just grab yourself some duct tape and some WD-40 and baling wire. Get her done.
Get her done. Nice. Well, you know, it's interesting because his whole premise is if you're something happens, some kind of disaster, social upheaval, whatever, and it occurs to me that there's a lot of you out there that if I'm just going to say it, shit hits the fan, you got your guns and you're out there and there's going to be some bullets flying.
Yep.
And I'm guessing you can use duct tape when you get shot because you ain't just going to be shooting. People are going to be shooting back.
Yep. People don't remember that part.
Yeah. I mean, I've got my little bulletproof vest, but.
Do you really?
I do. I've got a bulletproof vest. I don't know that it's going to do it.
I need to go buy one.
Yeah. Mine's a little big for me. Like, I got the wrong size, so it's a little big, but I figured it'll protect me a lot better, right?
I guess. Do you have like the plating in it too, or just the gelatin?
It's got plating in it. So okay. It's anyway, I don't know. You get shot in the arm or something.
Hey, Don, I got a great idea.
No.
We're just
I don't know. I'm not.
Go, come on, Don. It'll be great. It'll be great for ratings.
Nope.
It's just a 380 pistol.
I got shot
Come
once already. I got shot in the leg.
Oh, no.
I thought a rattlesnake bit me, and it hurt.
Well, you got shot. Of course it hurt.
I didn't.
Who shot you?
All right.
Did you shoot yourself?
No, we're out at the lake. We're out at the lake, and a buddy of mine has my little .22 rifle, and he's shooting cans and bouncing the cans. Well, he bounced a can a little too close to me, and the next shot, he got my leg, and it went in kind of the back of my calf and hit my bone and bounced out. I've still got a scar from it. And I was like, hey. I was like, something bit me. I'm like thinking it's a rattlesnake.
Bit me.
So I was like, something bit me. I'm like, help, man, something bit me. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, well, where is it? Thinking there's a snake. And I didn't know if it was a poisonous snake. I want to find out what the freak bit me because I got blood running all down my leg and I got freaking holes in it. And he's just like, no, I'm sorry. I'm like, don't be sorry. Find the damn thing. And he's like, no, I'm sorry. I'm like, what? He's like, I think I shot you. I was like, oh, dude. So I was like, I got to go to the doctor and get this stitched up. He's like, no, we can't. I'm going to go to jail. Yeah, we're 16, 17 years old.
So where's he
out
buried?
In the desert. Yeah. I'm like, he's like, they have to report that. I'm going to go to jail. And I'm thinking, yeah, probably. And you deserve it. So anyway, long story short, I never did go to the doctor because I was afraid of the thing. So we went home and duct tape and super glue.
Shut up.
I'm totally serious. Duct tape and super glue and a bunch of rubbing alcohol. And luckily it wasn't bad. It didn't, do anything. It didn't get infected or nothing. And it came out. I mean, if it was still in there, I was going to go to the doctor. But it hurt like a mother. So I can only and that was a 22.
Yeah.
So I can imagine getting hit by something bigger is going to hurt a hell of a lot worse. And this is like somebody sticking a hot knife through your leg. That's why I thought it was a rattlesnake because I've heard they burn.
Huh.
Like the venom hurts or something. So I thought I got bit by a rattlesnake because of the holes in my leg and stuff. So, yeah.
So like 2 years later is when Forrest Gump came out, right?
That's right.
Something jumped up and bit me.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. I never even gave that. You're right.
You thought I was just
I
being
thought you were
silly.
just, yeah. All right. Anyway, we're going to have Dr. Hubbard on and, he's going to teach us some tips. So let's go get him on and we'll follow up on that note.
Oh, gosh.
What will you do when your stored supplies run out? Are you prepared? Hostile Hair provides equipment and education you need to control your own infinite food supply. We have live food storage systems, rabbits, quail, and other urban livestock for any situation and strategy. Don't be limited by what's on the shelves. Get started with an infinite food source today. Get prepped, stay fed with Hostile Hair. Call 480-331-3761, 480-331-3761, or visit hostlehair.com.
All right, this week on the We Grow Ours show, we've got a very special guest, a man after my own heart. Coming from the backwoods of Wisconsin, I heard duct tape in the title of a book, and I had to have the author on the show. With us, we've got Dr. James Hubbard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, man, I woke up breathing. Better than the alternative, they tell me.
Yeah.
I've had a chance to kind of look at your website. I haven't read your book yet, but I've read a bunch of reviews about it and it looks phenomenal. So the new book that you've got out, Duct Tape 911, tell me a little bit about it and, a little bit about yourself as well.
Well, I'm an MD. I'm a longtime family doctor, and I now practice part-time. And most of my time I spend trying to teach people how to handle medical situations during disasters or during hikes or camping or any time they can't get expert help. And so to that nature, I love finding medical ways to use common products, and duct tape is my favorite. So I have some posts on my website about how to treat wounds, and one of the ways I suggested if you, at the end, it's not the most important thing to close a wound, but at the end, if you close a wound, duct tape can close it. So I thought, there's a lot of other things I could talk about that. In fact, I can make that a book. And I think it's, kind of entertaining, good, but you learn something with it too. I mean, it's kind of fun to read. It has illustrations, and it's certainly easy to read. And then in addition to that, you have, you can learn something. And I just believe that, more than equipment, knowledge is so important to have. And you can do with less equipment, the more knowledge you have.
That's right. If you can make stuff on the fly, you can be versatile, and you can, what's the word?
MacGyver.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a quarter and a battery charger. Well, we can weld something.
That's right. Now, this isn't your only book either. You've actually had a couple of books out. I see a first aid book, as well as some guide to wounds and guide to burns.
Yeah, I have a Living Ready pocket manual first aid, and you can get that in a lot of Sam stores, about 80% of them. I don't know why not all, and Barnes and Noble, and you can get it on my website. And it's more of something you'd want to put in your backpack and just have as a resource, or on your shelf. It's small, it's light, it can just about anywhere in your car. And the thing I recommend is you read the book and you get down the essentials. What to do to save a life. What are you do in life-threatening situations? Because so many people, when it happens, it's unexpected, and you go into the panic mode and you quit thinking, and you think flight or fight, and all the blood rushes away from your brain into your muscles. And so it's good to have some things reflexly that you'll just do, automatically, such as I've had so many people, it sounds very simple, but I had so many people come into the office with a wound, and they are not putting pressure on it to stop the bleeding. And it's bleeding all over the place, and seal wound bleeding, stop it with pressure. If it doesn't stop with pressure, use a tourniquet. After you get the essentials down and get to the point where you're not having any life-threatening thing, then you go to the book and find out what to do from there. If you can't get expert help.
Well, and expert help, I think, we want to put that disclaimer on too. You always should do that. So you don't want to use duct tape. You want to go to the doctor. But if the doctor isn't available, and that's really what you concentrate on your website at the survivaldoctor.com, is if help isn't available, if there's no roads, they've been washed away, if there's some kind of social upheaval, something, you concentrate on how to survive and how to get by until you can get that medical help. So
that's correct. Yeah.
My question for you along that is, how did you go from being a family doctor to the survival crowd?
Well, when I started in practice in my little hometown in Mississippi in the 80s, there wasn't 911 available at every beck and call, and the people on 911 were, they weren't these so well-trained EMTs and paramedics. So people had to kind of survive on their own sometimes, or at least sometimes they didn't call anybody, and sometimes they called and it'd take a few hours to get there. They taught me a lot of things to do that you could do in survival situations or times when, medical help is not available that they were doing. And they also taught me some things that they were doing wrong. And I think that's common and a problem too. If you think you're doing something right and you're doing it wrong, that can be a mistake. And I try to keep up with those things on my posts and in the book and things like that. So you've got the correct knowledge and some of that other out of your head.
Well, speaking of that, what would be a farce or one of those examples of something that we think is common knowledge, but really is a practice that we shouldn't practice?
Most people these days know not to put grease or butter on a burn. But if you don't do it. Now, back when in the 80s, I had a lot of people that did that. It was, most of the mothers and grandmothers taught if you have a burn, put grease on it or butter or something. That's not what to do initially for the burn, especially because you're just keeping in the heat and you're keeping in that heat and you're just baking your meat, your skin. Another thing would be on wounds that are bleeding again. there are a lot of things out there that say do this or that as far as put pepper on it or put something else on it. Well, that's fine. You can try that, but don't neglect the pressure. The pressure is what's going to help the best. There's nothing that beats that, and as simple as that. So those are a couple of things, and there's some that come up all the time on my website. I have somebody comment, and I'll say, well, that's not really true. Most people these days know everything. They don't have as much misinformation as they used to, except you can find a lot of it on websites, and that's where they go to some place, they go to a website, it tells them something, they don't have a source, it just kind of becomes almost like a gossip thing and goes around, and all of a sudden you're saying, well, you do this for this, and they say, well, why? How do you know that? Well, such and such said it. Well, where did it come from? Well, nobody knows,
Right. Well, it's on the internet. It must be true.
Yeah, right. It's on the internet. It must be true. And I think most people know that's not true.
A lot of our listeners, we're into kind of growing your own foods. We're into raising, livestock, which comes along. You get injuries doing that, but it also has a benefit that you can grow medicine. So I know you're not an herbalist, but as a doctor, what are some of the things out there that you see that we should be adding to our gardens that can help us in the long run when it comes to medical care if something isn't available?
Well, first off, I don't know, you don't grow this, but raw honey is my favorite. It has so many things you can do for it. So, if you can get some raw honey, it is a fantastic antibiotic for wounds and things. If you put it on a wound, it really helps as much or better than most of the over-the-counter creams. You can use it for cough also. The only thing about honey is that you don't use it. Kids under about 2 or 1, don't give it to them because there can be some little bacterial spores in there that can actually be very harmful to them and been applied in a couple of deaths in children that age because of their size. And it's never been a problem in adults or older children, but just beware of that. That's one thing. Another, of course, is aloe vera. I don't know about growing that outside, but everybody needs an aloe vera plant.
Oh, we've got a few. They grow fairly well here in Arizona.
Yeah, they
do that. Yeah,
all over the place. Yep.
So yeah.
Well, that's great. And so, have one where that you can use it for a burn as or just a soothing. The inside you split it and you get into all that gel, and it's great for burns. And there's some other properties that you could use for that. Most people, I would say, think garlic is a good one to have. And again, me not being an expert on how to grow it, but I know that garlic is a great, as far as if you don't have antibiotics and things around, it can help your immune system quite a bit. There's so many others out there, and of course, one of the main things is to keep your immune system and your health up by eating your variety of fruits and vegetables, and just keep that up instead, and that would be extremely important in a survival situation because prevention is going to be so important. Little things can get into big things really quickly, so if you can prevent them, and one of the main ways, of course, is just to be careful and also get your variety of foods in. So that is extremely important.
Well, I know garlic is definitely a big one for us. We do grow our garlic, and I actually, going through your website, I was reading an article on pinworms, and that's the treatment for pinworms as well. It looks like eat a lot of garlic. I hope I never have to deal with that after reading that article. So
yeah, onions are great. Garlic is great. Peppers are so good for burns. You got to know what you're doing, kind of to put a salve together, but you use the capsaicin in the peppers and make if you can have it so that you can make a salve out of it. It really helps certain pains much better than others.
Really?
Pains that are nerve related, like diabetes, pain in the feet, it helps a lot. Those types of things.
Now, did you say that you use the capsaicin on a burn?
The burning that you have with nerve pain from diabetes or from nerve pain of that sort. No, I don't use capsaicin on burns. No. In fact, I would be careful, putting it on a wound or something because it could actually, damage the skin if it's too concentrated. So no, I don't do it for birds, but I do it. But I think it's good, and you can find those over the counter too, like with the capsaicin in it, and you just, it helps that tingling and that burning sensation that happens with nerve damage from diabetes and from shingles and some things like that.
That's interesting. Now, here's a question. I got to get back to the duct tape thing. I'm, like I was saying, I'm a big fan of duct tape. You got duct tape, WD-40, and a Craftsman wrench. You fix just about anything. Throw in some baling wire, and you've got it made. So I'll relay a personal experience with duct tape, and then let me see. I'll see if I did it right here. We had a flare up of some flatworts in the family, and put duct tape on them, kind of a nightly routine, and they seemed to go away. Is that did something else happen there, or was it the duct tape healing the warts?
Duct tape is known for healing warts. Yes, warts are viruses, and so you can cut it off and it'll just come back because it's the virus that grows the wart. And just about anything you try is not 100% treatment for warts. Because of that, you can burn it off, you can freeze it off, whatever. One of the ways, though, you can do is you can use duct tape on it. You can put duct tape right over the wart, keep it on there constant, and just on the wart. That's all. Just and then keep it on there constantly for about 3 days. Take it off, kind of soak the area and clear away any dead tissue. Put it back on and continue doing that for a week or 2 or 3, and not always, but a lot of times those warts will go away. I think the body says this is an irritating spot, and I need to make antibodies to it, to this virus, and so they do, and it kills the virus, and the wart goes away. So yeah, that's one of my tips in the book, and it works.
Now, so you're saying the wart itself is a virus, or is there a virus that produces the wart? So the wart's more of a symptom?
The virus produces the wart. Okay. The virus produces the wart.
Yeah, because it's I think we've all had experiences with it, but it seems like it's almost dead to the touch. Like you can't feel the actual wart itself, but underneath it and what moves around in it. Anyway, moving on. Yeah. Enough of my wart experience here.
Well, I was just back to that. There have been instances of dermatologists or people who deal with warts all the time touching them over and over again to check them out, and they develop warts on the place, their finger there where they've been touching. So yeah, they're not contagious, but in that case, they seem to have spread a little bit.
Wow, I don't want any warts. So.
Oh, give me a hug, Don. Come on.
One of the other cool things I see on the reviews is you talked about stopping a lung from collapsing with duct tape, and I am dying to know how that would possibly work.
Well, with all these things about duct tape, you can use other things too. It's just that if you have duct tape handy, and the premise is just like, I don't know if you've ever heard of using a credit card or something like that. To stop that, but it's the same. If you have a hole in the chest wall, then in normal situation, you expand your expand your chest, and your lungs expand, and everything is, sealed in there. If you get a hole in your chest, that there's no longer any seal, and therefore your lungs don't expand anymore. So you need to try to keep that air from the outside out, and any that's come in, get it back out. Well, you use a one-way valve, and one way you can do that is make a little duct tape with the sticky parts together, so that there's no stickiness, and it's about the size of a credit card, or maybe 2 or something like that, and just plop it right over that wound. When you breathe in, that will be against the wound there, and it will seal the air, and you can breathe better. When you breathe out, if any air needs to come out, it'll have a chance to do that because you haven't taped it completely down. You just stuck it on there. And the reason it sticks on there is from your bodily fluids, the blood or the other fluids that's around there where the wound is. So, and it can be quite quite a lifesaver, or at least help you quite a bit during an emergency. And it's a good thing to know.
So I suppose that I have to put some duct tape in our first aid kit now.
You do. You can use other tapes. Some people are allergic to the latex, and if that's the case, you're going to have to just get you a medical tape that's latex free. Or it irritates you a little bit for duct tape, but it also sticks better. So my advice is, yes, get you some duct tape, get you some safety pins, and a little bit of honey, and you'll be ready to go.
It's very cool. That's all going in my first aid kit. So, again, you've got a pretty cool website, thesurvivaldoctor.com, and you actually you don't just write about duct tape, but I mean, as an MD, you have a lot of tips and tricks on here. So what are kind of the most popular things that you found that people relate to the best?
Well, the one that is very popular is my rashes for children. I get so many. It's by far the most popular that's clicked to. Somebody has a child with a rash, and you go to the doctor, and sometimes that rash is pretty obvious, and sometimes it's not. And I can help you the pictures and the way it presents as far as where it is on your body and what it looks like and all that can give you some ideas. And I have a lot of good comments about that. Also, my wounds and my burns. I have an ebook, Wounds and Burns, also that you can get at the website, and they have videos with them, so that you say that do this for a wound, and then you go to a video of me showing you how to do it, and there are several of those types of videos in those. I think my most popular duct tape tip, and it's also very popular on my video on the website, is how to get a ring off if it's swollen on the finger, how to get it off without cutting the ring. And I've had more thank yous for that than anything. People saying, "Oh, I've had this ring on for so long, my hand has become swollen, and I can't get the ring off." And it's not like it's an emergency or cutting circulation, but I don't want to cut it off. And so this shows you how in my book, and I have a video on it too. And it's pretty simple and it works. On the website, if you sign up for a newsletter, I give you a list of items that I think are important for medical supplies to have, in your at home and in your car and in your bag and that sort of thing. That's popular. Also, I have a lot about different types of diseases. It's not only about injuries. It's what can you do? Sometimes there's not much you can do, but at least you can recognize the disease, and sometimes there's things you can do for it, and certainly there's ways a lot of times to prevent it from spreading. And I'm talking about anything from the flu to MERS or to Ebola to pneumonia, to diseases, high blood pressure, diabetes, and those types of things.
Those would be all good to know.
Yeah, Ebola. I don't want to know about that.
I heard Ebola is like, I think you shoot the victim and run away. I don't.
A lot of people have asked me about Ebola and MERS lately. It's because there have been some in the United States, but really they've actually come from the other countries, and they haven't really spread here at all. And so, yeah, you don't want that. It's good to know about those things. There are so many, though, that it's really hard to remember them all. But you can remember what to do to prevent them, and what to do to prevent them is use precautions when somebody's especially in a situation like a disaster or something. Somebody's coughing around you. You obviously get away from them if you can, but if you can't, it'd be very nice to have a little mask around to help you out, and also to wash your hands very frequently, if at all possible, and have some protection for your, some goggles if you have anything at all like that available, and that's one of the supplies you should have. Some things that'll keep any fluids off of you.
Yeah, I like Nick's idea.
Don't touch your face.
I'll shoot him and run away.
Yeah.
Don't touch your face. People touch their faces hundreds of times a day without even knowing it. So to say that is one thing, and it's good to do. Don't touch your face, but another thing to do it on and on and on. Sooner or later you're going to kind of touch your face or eye. It seems to me like every time I get somebody that has some infection that I all of a sudden my eye starts itching or something, and I got to touch my face. I don't, but it seems like that happens.
So I have a question for you. Have you been in a situation where you had to apply your knowledge in a survival situation or other than in your doctor's office?
I've seen some accidents where I've had to supply a little bit of knowledge. I've had to do some chest compressions with CPR. But as far as anything really out in the wilderness or out in the disaster area, I've been fortunate enough to not have to do that I can think of.
Not exactly the high entertainment thing. I was thinking like maybe you were Rambo back in the day, tying tourniquets.
I wish. You know, I'm glad that I didn't have to, but then on the other hand, it'd be a really good story. I guess I could make one up, but
there you go. Come back to us in about a week and give us a good lie, would you? Well, I'm really excited. This might be a book I'll actually have to learn how to read and read. Because
yeah, I mean, you can. It's not that hard to read. It's pretty understandable, you know, and it's got a lot of pictures in it for you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, he needs a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
Now you've got videos, like you said. You mentioned the ring. You've got videos and a lot of other stuff on the website too.
I do. I have videos on them. I'm always increasing what I do. I have a lot of good reader comments. As you see a post, look at the comments, because a lot of times the readers have such good additions to what I put in there that help. So I've got that, and yeah, it's just some people learn better with videos, some with reading, some different ways, different people, and I like to learn in all different ways. So it's all good. Also, I never say that hands-on courses are fantastic, and if you can do those, then do them. It gives you it's another way to learn, and it gives you a little bit more of experience. But I also think if you really read something and you take the time to actually soak it in for even a few seconds, that a lot of times it'll surprise and come back to you when you need it. So it's good to know a lot of things, and if you're sure or if you're pretty certain that you're learning the right thing and not the wrong thing.
Yeah. Well, and
if you're going to internalize something, you better make sure it's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that part of the problem with this type of knowledge is you don't know what you don't know, which I've said many a times. Mm-hmm. But in this case, you can hurt somebody by what you don't know.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
I'm reminded of the comedian Brian Regan. He does this skit where it's a bunch of 6 and 7-year-olds build a ramp and they're jumping the bike, and that's as far as they got when one kid's flailing through the air and comes down, his elbows bent backwards. Get some leaves.
People that would read my website and read those books, they would know a lot more just by reading them, maybe once, maybe twice, but at least once. They'd know a lot more than a lot of people out there. And yeah, people, when emergencies, there's going to be something around. If you're there, everybody's always waiting back for somebody to help. Well, maybe you're the one that needs to be helping. Maybe you know more than the other person that might step forward. Or, if there's some expert there, then great. But, a lot of times there's not. And so many times, people just stand back, and when they could be doing little things. I read, something about somebody in New York at Macy's, a woman who, fell recently and broke her leg and yelled for help there while people were going back and forth shopping in the middle of the day. She was on the sidewalk yelling for help for 45 minutes before a taxi driver stopped and helped her. And, you don't have to know a lot to be able to help her do that, to actually probably just get down and see what's wrong with her, and maybe call 911 for her or something like that. So it really helps.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was New York. Anywhere else, she'd have probably been helped pretty quick. But
I think she probably would have.
Yeah, I've been to New York many a times, and people will walk right on by.
Yeah, and that's too bad.
Yeah,
I guess, but
there's a certain anonymity, or
you keep your eyes down.
you're anonymous when you're in that big of a throng of people. Whereas smaller towns, you've got accountability, social accountability.
Yeah. One other thing I'd like to say is it's good to help, and I always encourage that. But be careful about yourself. If somebody is hurt in a situation like on a hike, you see somebody hurt on a hike, or even in a wreck or whatever, kind of look around them for a minute and say, what happened here? Did this person, is there a mountain lion around eating on it? Has this attacked this person? If you get out of the car on a wreck, be sure that you parked on the side. You don't open that door fast and end up being part of another part of the accident there. Things like that. If you see some people dropping to the ground, say, is there shooting going on here? Watch. Don't be such a hero that you put yourself in a danger that ends up being making you also a victim that people have to take care of.
I think that's wonderful advice because
that's really good.
My wife and myself, and especially my wife, are trained in first aid. We've had the privilege to help people in some car accidents, and we've both witnessed some things that we wish we hadn't and had to help. And it really, your adrenaline gets going, and you can forget to look around and be aware of your surroundings. So I think it's phenomenal advice. Yeah.
And if in your situation, if you see something, and it kind of makes you queasy or something. I had somebody that wrote me about my first book about the one of them first aid, said, it makes me queasy. Well, I thought, well, yeah, okay, but if it really happens, it's really going to be queasy. I just can't take out the queasiness part of it. So if it makes you queasy, sit down for a minute, rest, take a deep breath, something like that. I had a person who had a bad cut. He came into the office, but he'd had a bad cut on his leg, and he went to his he was out in the country, and he went to the door there and told his wife. And his wife said, what happened? And said, you got to take me to the doctor. I can't drive myself. And she said, what happened? She looked at the wound and she fainted. So he ended up having to drive her. And that's kind of the situation you don't want to get in. Keep that. People do. I mean, anybody, any human being could get a little queasy or fainty at times. And if that happens, take it in consideration, sit for a minute. And a lot of times then if you start actually helping or doing something, I think a lot of that queasiness a lot of times goes away.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Dr. Hubbard, I want to thank you for joining us today and all the great tips you've given us. Tell me one more time where we can find you. I know we've got the survivaldoctor.com, but are you on Facebook as well?
Oh yeah, I'm on Facebook. It's The Survival Doctor on Facebook, and just check it out. I have a big Facebook following, and it's survivaldoctor.com. You can find my books, Living Ready. You can find it at Sam's and Barnes and Noble. The other one, you can get on Amazon or on my website for the next day or two. It's going to come up soon, but I'm going to take it off. But the Duct Tape 911, if you buy one from my site, and I'll sign it for you and send it, to you by 2-day mail, and try to get it by Father's Day so that it'd be a good gift. Great.
Well, hey, I appreciate once again you joining us, and we look forward to getting you the link out to the podcast. And
thank you very much for having
me. All right. Well, we're back, and thank you to Dr. Hubbard. We have just done the most awesome closing I think we've ever done, and I forgot to record it.
Yeah.
So
technology.
What I was getting at in that whole time was keep your mind about you.
Yes.
I think that is a really good answer that he gave. And I think if the adrenaline kicks in, you get fight or flight, you need to calm down, think about it, be rational.
That's right.
So as my father said, you panic or you die. So thank you, Dad, for ingraining that in me. So
if you panic, you die, right?
If you panic, you die.
Okay, because you put an or in there. You panic or you die.
No, if you panic, you die.
Okay.
So don't panic.
Don't panic. Right.
So, I've broken bones. I've jumped off rooftops pretending to be the penguin. I've broken elbows and knees, and
You say penguin, but I got you. You were probably singing "A spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down."
That was actually one of my favorite movies, but no, it wasn't Mary Poppins.
Earlier when we didn't record the ending, He just said he jumped off the roof holding an umbrella thinking he would fly. He said penguin. I saw Mary Poppins.
Yes, no, it was the penguin.
A young, gender-confused Don Cupper jumped.
Yeah, my mom let me go off the picnic table and think I was Spider-Man or Superman too, and I didn't fly.
Oh man, I've only broken 2 bones in my body.
Wow, that's awesome. I wish I could say that because I've broken most of my fingers, my knee, my ankle, a lot of toes, my collarbone, my wrist, and my elbow. My elbow was cool. My friend went to flip me, and I didn't flip. He just grabbed. Oh, he kind of twisted me around, so I was behind him, and then he grabbed my arm to flip me over, but my arm was backwards, so it just broke. So right at the elbow, boom! I was out on the beach. I went up to my grandfather's. Grandpa, I broke my elbow. He said, "Go home. I'm fishing."
Not now, damn it! I got a bite.
He was surfish. He's like, "Go home. Tell your mom or something." I go home. I tell my mom. She's like, "Can you move it?" I said, "Yeah," and it hurt like hell. She's like, "No, it's not broken." So 3 days later, when I wouldn't fish, because I wouldn't hold the fishing rod, and I love to fish, but it hurt too much to hold the fishing rod, I went to the doctor, and it was broken.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I busted my hand. Junior high hitting somebody and
hitting somebody.
Oh yeah,
wow.
Yeah, it was.
You hit him hard.
That was my first fight, and it was tears and blood at the end of it, and I think I won. I don't know. I wasn't crying as hard as the other guy, so we were good.
You're supposed to make a tight fist, and you won't break anything.
No, I was aiming for his nose and hit his cheekbone, and it busted my. It was a boxer fracture on my right hand little pinky.
Oh, you were crying about that.
It wasn't. No, it was crying from the I didn't know how to handle adrenaline at the time.
Yeah. Well, see, that shows you that adrenaline, it can do things to you.
Yeah.
So don't panic. Keep your resolve.
I'm addicted to it now.
Well, yeah. Me too. So we're going to go bungee jumping and skydiving. We got to get a group together.
I can do the skydiving, but my second bone that I broke was actually my number 12 thoracic vertebrae. So I can't do the bungee jumping.
I've said I've got, but yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
So you have broken a few more bones than that.
No. Just those were the only
just your
two.
pinky and your back.
My pinky and my back.
The back.
That totally trumps everything.
Yeah, because an elbow.
I got a bunch of metal and stuff back there.
Yeah, you got pins and stakes.
There's 16 screws, 2 bars, a little cage, and a bracket.
What kind of metal?
I believe titanium.
Ooh, you're worth something.
Not really. Fishing lures are only like $3, and they're made out of titanium.
That's true.
There's only about a pound more in there.
I was hoping it was gold or something.
No. I'm not worth that.
So, thanks for joining. Are we done?
I guess. Do you have anybody you want to plug this week?
I don't have a shout out for
shout out. Oh, yeah. We had to change it from plug of the week to shout out because apparently sometimes there's a little conflict when there's a special name like Butt Out. We're going to plug Butt Out tonight.
No, you're going to make me edit that. I got to edit that. I can't leave that in there.
Watch, this will be the first episode my mom listens to.
Probably. Well, at least you didn't give your email address for my mother to tell you the story.
Yes, Mrs. Cupper, if you're listening.
No, it would take too long. She's not going to type that much. I know it.
Nick@hostlehair.com. Please, any stories on Don Cupper, the junior?
Yeah, no. Mom, no.
We'll put it on the Facebook wall of shame.
She's got some.
Speaking of Facebook.
Yeah, we need some more love. I asked everybody to go out and go like our page, and like 10 of you did. Yeah, so facebook.com/WeGrowOurs.
Please like our page.
Please like it, yes. On our website, www.wegrowours.com. If you want to ask a question, and we've gotten a lot of good questions, especially recently.
That reminds me, the last show we did the integration class. Did we have any?
Yeah, we actually had a couple of good questions. One of them was about fodder, and they asked if they could use the water from the aquaponic system as the water for the fodder system. So,
mixed answers there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
First off, the seed itself contains all the nutrients that the plant needs until it comes up out of the ground.
So about day 7, which is when you'd be feeding.
About day 7 is when you would start needing to add nutrients to the fodder. Now, that being said, I've had conversations with old school fodder guys that were using 2020 liquid fertilizer in their fodder systems in a hydroponic situation. And they were getting higher yields going to 8 days and adding a certain amount of 2020.
Right.
And they were getting 1 pound of barley would produce up to 14 pounds of feed.
That's a lot of feed.
That is a lot of feed. And if that's true.
Now, that's going to 8 days, too.
Yeah, that's going to 8 days. Now you need light.
Yeah,
a
once
lot
you
of light.
hit that, 5, 6, you're going to have to start adding light and nutrients if you're going to go over 7.
So my recommendation is if you're going to integrate fodder with aquaponics, start it hydroponically, and then day 7 and 8, put that into a separate rack that's exposed to your aquaponics setup.
Yeah, now I want to also talk about that because what you don't want to do is bring that water back into your aquaponic system.
That's right. The hydroponic, basically there is a coating on the seeds. It's hydrophilic acid,
Right.
which is a nutrient inhibitor, and it's acidic. So when you throw anything into your aquaponic system that has a nice balanced pH, you're going to start screwing with it.
Yep. Not only is your pH going to be affected, but over time, all of your plants will be affected and they won't be able to take up the nutrients. It's an uptake inhibitor.
Uh-huh.
So if you're adding that, take the water out of your aquaponic system. If you're doing water changes, or drain it into your fodder, utilize it, and then drain it out. That water is no longer viable to go even in a garden unless you're balancing your soil really well. So just be careful with that water that comes out.
Now, I believe by day 7 and 8, you don't have any more of that philic acid on there. Hydrophilic acid.
You've still got seeds in there that haven't sprouted, so I still wouldn't do it. And I've tested the pH on that water.
No,
I would not put that into an aquaponic
What's the pH?
system.
Is it pretty low?
Yeah.
What's it registering?
I don't recall, but it was pretty dang low last time I tested it. Now, I did it in a standing system, not an automated, so the water was probably going on 3 days old, and it was really low. In fact, it was lower, I think, than my scale.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think the one I was using to test goes from 5, I believe, 4.5 or 5.
If you have the ability to use it in a small test system, play with it and let us know what happens.
Yeah, if you can figure out how to integrate it, I'm all ears. But to start out, I would say use the water from the aquaponic system toward the end to give it some nutrients, see if it boosts it. I haven't done it, but I'd certainly love to try it.
Maybe backwash a filter or something.
Yeah, exactly. Backwash
high
the filter
nutrition.
into it. Yeah, give it a lot of nutrition in there. But don't just run it in your aquaponic system from day one. Yeah. What was the other part of that question? He had a couple of really good questions. I think, quail, whether they would, he has Texas A&Ms and the Pharaoh quail and a couple of different breeds and then a colony style.
If you could crossbreed them?
Yeah, he was wondering if they crossbreed or if they'll automatically crossbreed or if you had to worry about that. And yes, they will. They will crossbreed all over the place.
They're like rabbits, man. If it's moving, they're humping them.
Yeah, and you want to be very careful in that colony style system that you've got enough space for those males because they will fight with each other. And you've got to have enough females in there that they don't kill the females doing the deed.
Yeah, they get pretty aggressive. If there's not enough females, they will basically breed her till she's dead. They'll scalp her, they'll take all the feathers off, and then they'll start taking the skin off. So so, be very I believe the Japanese Corturnix are the easiest to tell which ones are male and which ones are female.
Right. Because of the spots.
Exactly.
The females have the spots on their chest.
When you start going to like the A&M whites and those the tuxedos and stuff, it's a little bit harder to tell.
Yep.
Just from looking at them, you actually have to flip them over and sex them,
which can be difficult.
Yep.
I still haven't been able to tell 100%.
Well, your parents didn't do a very good job of the birds and the bees.
It's not that easy. Not with quail. Because we had one I swear was a male and it laid an egg. So I'm pretty sure it wasn't. So they will crossbreed. If you're colony style, make sure you've got your numbers right. And make sure you keep an eye on them. I think that's what it comes down to.
Or just buy a quail system from me.
Or do that.
And you don't have to worry about it.
And actually, you sell the fodder system, too.
I do. I sell kind of an experimental fodder system.
Yeah.
It's great because you can play around with a lot of the you can make your own modifications to it and to see what works for your environment. The ideal temperatures are under 70, I've found out.
Yeah.
But I still run mine at around 80, and it works pretty good as long as you're doing water changes. I've been using apple cider vinegar and bleach interchangeable just to see what kind of results I get, and they're pretty close.
Are they? So you're soaking for the first 24
Oh,
hours,
yeah.
and you did the apple cider vinegar over the bleach. I haven't done that yet. That's a good idea.
I didn't mix them because that just basically neutralizes it.
But you did one. The vinegar gave you the same basic results as the bleach?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I've been using tap water to do ours because it's pretty much...
Very high pH.
Well, no, it's got chlorine in it, so I don't need to add bleach.
It's also got fluoride in it. So
actually, I'm on a well, but it's they chlorinate the tank like once a month.
Oh.
So I get really high chlorine spikes out of the tank because the water treatment company dumps. It's a shared well. I have had my set. We have voted. I've been outvoted, and that is democracy in action. So we don't drink that during that time.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, well, I've got all sorts of inline filters for my aquaponics system.
Oh, yeah. You'd have to
take all that chlorine out.
What's nice, though, is the chlorine. If you can let it sit for long enough, it'll go away on its own.
Yeah, well, one of the things we do with the tanks is we gas especially if you're on city and you don't want to filter, what we'll do is put them into 55-gallon drums and let it put an air stone in the bottom of that. 3 days later, you've got no chlorine left. So it just gases out.
Cool.
Yeah. So
even my water turtles don't like city water.
Yeah, nobody likes city water. You're gonna get me going in red again on this political thing about the fluoride and all that stuff.
Man,
you gotta love that.
Well, what's funny? Okay, so what studies have I got to ask you? What studies have been done about the fluoride? What exactly does fluoride do to the human body if you intake it?
Well, it depends on the doses that you intake it.
Okay.
All right. So it helps your teeth.
Great.
Yeah.
So does brushing. I don't do that either.
It kills you every other way. Yeah. Look up your own studies.
I'm just asking because I don't get pissed off talking about fluoride, and you do.
The reason that I do is because they don't tell us these things. They don't tell us anything about them. They tell you that it's good for your teeth. They don't tell you any of the problems with it. And then they add it to your water without your knowledge. That's where I have a problem. It's not the fact that they're, you can't choose. Okay. Which I understand it's a municipality. They have to do what they do, but they can at least inform you and give you the option that, hey, this is in your water. If you drink it, here's the possible side effects. Not to mention the fact that they spend a lot of money on adding this stuff to your water, and that money could be spent in better areas like improving the plants to make the water taste better, smell better, and safer, so we don't have outbreaks of where people have to boil their water. And maybe if they spent some more
like
money...
we did out in Santan Valley.
Yeah, and maybe if they spent some more money on the plants and improving that instead of adding fluoride in and having some subcontractor out there that's making a killing on this stuff that happens to be related to a politician that approved it, then I wouldn't be so against it.
Yeah, maybe some of the municipality money could go to repairing roads instead of charging us.
You're going to get me going. He did that.
I did it on purpose. Segue
12 cents a gallon of federal tax.
Who's pushing that anyways?
I don't know. I just heard it was part of the new, tax laws coming through and whatnot. They're looking at a 12 cent per gallon. And they polled, and people would not be opposed to it as long as it goes to the roadway improvements. But for people
Who did they poll? People that walk to work?
Well, that's kind of what I'm wondering.
I drive freaking 80 miles a day just to get to and from my job.
Yeah, and, but that means you use the road more, so you should owe your fair share.
Well, then have my company pick it up because I wouldn't be driving if it wasn't for that.
I know, and then there's just going to be another loophole to write off this and that and the other thing, but people don't realize you need a tax appetite in order to make that happen either. So, yeah, we got all sorts of problems, and they're worried about that. Let's raise taxes even more. So with that, thank you for joining us.
We're leaving on a heated note this week.
Facebook.com/WeGrowOurs. And then ask us feedback. If you're pissed off about some 12-cent fuel tax, feel free to go to WeGrowOurs.com/ask us and let us know. If you want to hear more politics, let us know. You want to hear less politics? I'm happy to listen to your opinion and not do anything about it.
Because I got a microphone and you don't.
That's right. Hey, I would do a whole show on politics, but I know our listeners don't want to hear our politics. So we try to avoid them as much as possible and educate because we can bring people together around food and survival and things you can do with duct tape, and we can't do that with politics.
That's right. Duct tape doesn't care if you're left or right or center.
That's
it
right.
will save you either way. You just got to you'll know how to use it.
Duct tape, baling wire, and some WD-40.
Yeehaw! All right, folks. We'll catch you next week.